Life is all about relationships. Lovers, family, body, or money. How satisfied you are can be completely explained by how you relate to things around you. This is Sophie Jaffe, and together with my husband, Dr. Adi Jaffe, we are here to explore and teach you how to maximize your relationships and achieve a happier life. Let's get ignited.
Thanks to Chosen Foods for supporting the Ignited podcast. Chosen Foods is a health food company with a focus on real, nourishing food. They offer a variety of healthy fats, plant-based proteins, and ancient superfoods.
You know, I love that. I love Chosen Foods because of their 100% pure coconut oil spray. It's so versatile. I can add it to sauteed veggies, to my scrambled eggs, or anything else. They have no harmful propellants or emulsifiers. They're making healthy cooking and eating an absolute breeze, which is exactly what I need with 3 kids and a husband who barely cooks. Okay, breakfast and maybe one other meal a week.
Thank you for that. All you got to do to get our special discount is head to chosenfoods.com/IGNTD Ignited and use the promo code Ignited50 during checkout for 50% off your order, people.
That is a lot of discount for some amazing, amazing oils.
Get some Chosen Foods. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Ignited podcast. I'm Adi Jaffe.
And I'm Sophie Jaffe.
And it's late in the Jaffe household.
It is. It's been a long, hard day, actually.
So I feel like it's been a long, hard week.
Yeah.
It's, what day is it? It is Tuesday night?
Yeah.
It's Tuesday night. This week started Thursday, I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like Thursday is Wednesday night is when the week started. Mm-hmm. We are recording this on the heels of, they're not contained fully yet, but on the heels of a really crazy week here in the LA area. It's kind of hard to think of all the things that have been going on here. It
started just in this particular week. First of all, last week was midterm elections, which was Tuesday. And that in its own right was fiery and intense.
Yeah.
And then, it ended up good. We're grateful that we got the house back. It's amazing. Woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. Woo, woo. And then Thursday, I was supposed to go to an event in Westlake, and coincidentally, we woke up and heard that there was a shooting Wednesday night. 12 people, was it 12 people or 14 people?
12, including the shooter.
Died at a club, at a bar that we've been to before with some of our best friends.
Yeah.
In
Thousand Oaks.
In Thousand Oaks. And in the third, I learned this week that it's the third safest city in the world. Yeah. In the United States, sorry.
Which totally speaks to what you were talking about earlier today about not wanting to live in a city like this where everybody's at risk because our friend's house got broken or a car got broken into in daylight and all that stuff. And then where the fuck do you move?
Yeah.
When the third safest city in this country has a shooting, it's just, there's nowhere to run to. And so that was Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And then
we woke up Thursday morning to the news.
We knew you had a thing though.
Yeah, I had an event in Westlake on Thursday afternoon. So we were all packed, ready to go, hit the road, got the kids from school, and just heard, this story unfolding about the shooting. And then we realized that they were in the same town. And then as we're driving on the freeway with all kids in the car, all three kids, Adi and I, driving on the 101 north towards Westlake where this event that I had to be at that evening and the next day, there's a fire that broke out. And
you were on the phone with Katie on the way up and she was telling you about it, but we hadn't seen anything or heard anything about it.
She started texting me and just said, turn around, there's a fire. I would just turn around now. Don't come here. You're driving into Armageddon.
And we're like, how bad could it be? We haven't heard anything about it. We're just driving on the 101 north. We're starting to think about it. And then we see it.
We see the fire on the freeway. And it was the weirdest, gnarliest thing. We were 2 minutes from the hotel. So we just pulled up to the hotel to see what we should do. And anyway, long story short, the fire just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And we ended up leaving. I kind of felt like everyone thought I was crazy and being kind of an alarmist, even though I wasn't at all. I just trusted my intuition. And It was freaky. It was weird. Like, it was
They were
scary.
nice about it, but everybody else was definitely staying or supposedly driving in the next morning. And they're like, oh, you guys aren't coming back tomorrow? Or maybe Sophie will just take a ride in by herself.
I was like, bye. I'm definitely not doing that, but I'll pretend I am. This is scary.
We had our baby there and our 2 little kids, and you could smell and taste the smoke in the air. So we're like, there's no way we're having our baby here.
The valet people that worked at the hotel we were at had masks on because the air quality was so bad. I mean, just the visualization of someone parking your car with a mask on, like, that's something to be alarmed about.
Yeah.
It made me feel so uncomfortable. And
That is not normal.
when we got home, so I left, even though I was supposed to be on a panel the next day. I had a booth. I had all this stuff set up to be at this event with hundreds of moms for the SoCal Moms event. And I left and put my kids first and trusted my intuition. And it turns out that night at midnight, they got kicked out and had to mandatorily evacuate.
Yeah.
From the hotel. So they left anyway at midnight. I'm so glad that we didn't unpack and stay. And we came home. And when we got home, our clothes smelled like we had been at a campfire.
It literally smelled like we had been at a bonfire all night. And that was Thursday night. And we woke up Friday to this story of like some of the biggest fires that Southern California has seen in a while. Mm-hmm. This one fire had spread, the Newberry fire that was right next to us when we were up there. And now
my philosophy headquarters, like where we ship everything out, where we package all of our products, we just did a Black Friday run last week. I mean, my entire company is inside that building, and it's in Newbury Park where that fire first broke out. And I didn't get word until Monday that everything was okay. So, I mean, I was way more invested and worried about my friends' families and homes and animals and all of the crazy things that were going on, holding my own children tight all weekend, making sure that our air purifiers were going, and just, it was panic. It was crazy. And, but then in the back of my mind thinking like easily philosophy could be gone. So it was a really traumatic weekend. And one of our best friends, Katie, her husband's a firefighter, and her grandmother lost their house in Malibu. It burnt to the ground, and it's just nuts. Like the amount of things going on. Like, remember we were supposed to go on that Malibu safari?
Yeah.
I mean, it's devastating. The animals, they have giraffes, they have all these amazing exotic animals, and just, it's so sad. These animals just freak out and they have nowhere to go. Right.
Yeah, I saw pictures of them by the ocean. They just brought them all to the ocean.
Yeah.
It's kind of the last place they can get to, right?
Yeah.
And it's even though it's Tuesday,
it's been sad.
Again, the week has been like 5-6 days long since Wednesday night here.
I mean, these firefighters are still out. I mean, another fire broke out this morning. Like, it's not ending. There's not an end in sight.
Well, I mean, Duncan, Katie's husband, told us a month ago, this is the beginning of fire season. Like, this is the easiest it's going to get until sometime in December or January. Hopefully we get some rain.
Yeah. Praying for rain ASAP.
Yeah.
Do a little rain dance if you're listening, or say a little prayer, a little hope.
Yeah.
Send some rain our way.
So, I think sometimes you get caught, these things happen in life and it drags everything else down, right? Even when you're not thinking about that. I mean, Leo had that dream about a shooting, like all these things in life get affected, and I don't think we give it enough credit all the time. Like, we've definitely been off for 5-6 days straight, and we're lucky. Like, we're nowhere near getting evacuated, but a huge portion of our friends, like 10 to 20% of our friends, have had to get either evacuated or being scared they're going to be evacuated at any moment.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's insane. Where we used to live in the valley in West Hills, they were evacuated. I mean, it's gnarly. It's been really intense. So yeah, needless to say, we've been very weighed down by the fires, understandably so. And it's been really sad, but we have an amazing guest today who is really, really inspiring. And I'm just so excited for you guys to connect to her, hear her inspiring words. She's someone who, in my yoga community, is super inspiring and someone that I look to feel more grounded and to feel more connected to joy and just to the real experience of humanity, really.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about changes in Elena's life and what she's kind of been into. Yoga teaching used to be the main thing that she did, and she does a lot less of that now. We talked about drug use and sobriety, which was kind of surprising for me. I didn't walk into this conversation at all. I thought, well, I'm talking to a yogi.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were going to talk about drugs. And, she had a weed problem, and it was really dragging her down and kind of enveloping her in this literal cloud of smoke. And she talked about getting out of that one day and really deciding that it was time to turn things around. And so, I think for those of you who are listening right now who maybe have people who need to get inspired in your life, people who maybe are stuck, maybe you're smoking too much weed, drinking too much, doing something like that. I think this is one of those episodes that very gradually and softly introduces these topics, without hitting you over the head with them. And Elena's so easygoing. I feel like this conversation was one of those that was just so fluid and soft and easy to have. And so as you guys listen in, if there's a favorite part of yours, do me a favor, just screenshot it, tag us, tag Sophie and me in Ignited, tag Elena in it, and just give us your favorite quotes, your favorite takeaways. And definitely, if you know somebody else who could benefit from it, tag them, because we know, the reason we started this podcast is to help people who are struggling, and obviously not only through our own story, but through the stories of other people. And Elena's story is really cool, and it was such a pleasure to meet her and get connected. And in the spirit of everything that's happening in California right now, there are so many opportunities to give and to give back to the communities. We will put links to relevant charities and ways to specifically contribute. I think the death toll is now up to 40 something.
Yeah, this is happening in Northern California and Southern California at the same time. So these fires are gnarly. They're affecting a lot of people. There's a lot of people not in their homes right now. There's a lot of people whose homes have burnt down to the ground. It's scary.
And look, I know by the time we do this, it's a week after we've actually recorded this. But guess what? Even if the fires
these
are contained,
foundations still need your help.
Yeah, even if the fires are still contained, by the moment you hear this, there are hundreds of lives that have been destroyed by this. Houses that have passed through families, as Sophie mentioned, for some of our friends, houses that have been in their family for 100 years are gone. And that's one story. There are hundreds more like it. So please consider, even if the fires are not raging as you read this, to help the people who are left behind. And it's a heavy week here. If you have been affected, our hearts go out to you, and our thoughts, prayers, good wishes, and everything else are with you, for the first responders who were there, to the families who were affected by the shooting and by the fires, and as Sophie mentioned, the animals and all the collateral damage that is here. What we need more than anything else right now is unity in so many ways, and I really hope that we get closer and closer and closer to it.
The world needs more of that, more kindness, more love, more connection.
Yeah. And we've had so many of you share with us just the impact that this podcast has had on you, and we hope that this episode provides a little bit more of that in this heavy time. So thank you so much. We will see you on the flip side with Elena Brower.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
This episode of the Ignited podcast is brought to you by Philosophy Superfoods. The Philosophy offers cleanses and other nutritional products that are unlike any of the other supplements and detoxification programs on the market. Why? Because they actually nourish the body with whole, live, nutrient-rich foods instead of depriving you and leaving you hungry. Have you ever tried a cleanse only to find out that you can't make it through a whole day because you're starving? Ever try a superfood shake that made you nauseous because it was so disgusting you'd rather not eat? The Philosophy fixes all that with a simple set of offerings that load up your body with nutrients while actually tasting good. Makes sense, right? Each of the Philosophy superfood and protein blends is vegan, raw, gluten-free, and has absolutely no filler ingredients. With over 15,000 satisfied customers, including some of the world's biggest celebrities like George Clooney, Gerard Butler, Lea Michele, and over 10 years of experience, this is the best stuff you can get. To buy some or find out more info, go to our website, thephilosophy.com.
All right, everybody, welcome to the conversation segment of this episode. We always love this part of things because we get to talk to really, really cool people about amazing topics and
things that inspire us.
Yeah, today is absolutely one of those examples. Sophie, why don't you give us a spiel since this is kind of your love affair right here?
Well, I would love to introduce Elena. She is a yoga instructor. That's how I first found her. She's a best-selling author. She's also just one of the most inspiring people to me and doing really great work in the world. She's has a best-selling book called Practice You that's going to be made into a really cool deck with her artwork in about November, you think?
I think it's November, December of this year, 2018.
Yeah. Can't wait to see that. Beautiful artwork. And then she has a book that she co-wrote called Better Apart. And
yes.
I want you to expand on that, but just such a beautiful mission and journey and really focusing on kind of like the conscious uncoupling.
Totally.
And focusing more primarily on the children. Is that right?
Well, I think the whole mission of that, it was co-written with one of my Cornell comrades, Gabrielle Hartley, who's a very beloved mediator and attorney for years, 2 decades. And she basically came to me with this idea purporting that it would be great for me to insert some yoga and meditation into the book that she was writing. And suddenly I was sitting on an airplane, I'll never forget it, and all of these 5 pillars just landed on me. I had done the same in my own divorce, and practicing these 5 pillars will undoubtedly, if even one person in the couple is committed to it, help the separation and the divorce, and thereby helping the children of that separation or divorce. Patience, clarity, just being clear on what you want. What's the difference between a want and a need? Respect. Hello. Like, hello, people.
For yourself, for each other.
For yourself, exactly. For each other, for the future of your child or children, for the future of couples everywhere, for the future of humanity.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. And then peace and forgiveness, and making each one of these pillars a definable commitment. And even if you're the only one who's willing to engage with this, very accessible, simple set of tenets, you will improve the culture in your family. You will improve the flavor of the separation and the divorce. And it's such a sweet offering, I feel. Even though it's not like my main thing, I have so much pride in the project. And so I'll be sharing it as much as I can because I want to get into as many millions of homes as possible and save these kids from all this silly adult drama. That
Can I ask something? Because I'm listening to those 5 pillars. And I think this will be a really cool part of the conversation here today, because obviously Ignited, the Wednesday podcast, what we're doing right now is a lot about relationships. And we often talk about the tribulations we went through and what allowed us to make it. This is the other angle, right? What happens when you decide that you're not going to make it, and how do you separate? And can I just say that I think that it's the same 5 pillars? Like,
sure.
I think it's the exact same 5 things that keep you together. When you lost respect and you can't, for some reason, you have lost the ability to respect the human in front of you,
yes,
you can't get it back. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
If you can't have transparency, if you can't be honest about what you want,
and what you need. And as you mentioned, knowing the difference between those two, right? Because need might be a little less simple to compromise on. Want, we got to get honest with, and we don't all get everything that we want. And how do you do all these things in a relationship, whether you're together, it sounds like, or you're separating, is a huge part of the equation, because I think people make it so complicated. They start, even the whole thing about soulmates, etc. People start believing that it's like, there's nothing I can do. It's either meant to be or it's not meant to be. And what you're saying is, look, there are right ways to do this.
That's right. That's exactly right. Right ways, and ways to just treat other people. I was just reading a post by a dear friend of mine who wrote, included a Ram Dass quote in her post. And it's all about how when you go out to the forest, you look at all the trees and you see each tree is a different tree, and you're just reveling in the differences of all the leaves, the branches, and how they grow and what's the color. And it's just awesome to see. And then we get in front of a group of humans and we're like, fix that, do that, that's wrong, that's right. Oh my God, no, I don't like that. I love that.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. We don't do that to the trees.
Yeah. Well, some people do, and that's probably why we've ended up in this place in the world, unfortunately. But I hear what you're saying.
Word.
At our core, especially, and you're talking about how we affect children. Children don't do that in the forest, right?
Exactly.
Children get the purity of it. They can appreciate things. I mean, we always joke, right, that our kids, I don't know if you had the same experience, but like our kids will play with the box. They see wonder in everything.
Yes.
You get them a present and they'll spend 45 minutes just playing with the box for it, because they see and respect and have wonder about almost everything around them.
Well, it's curiosity. It's also just that purity, and it's coming back to that purity. And I think that we, for the most part, see nature as pretty pure and beautiful and obviously natural, but then human qualities come into play and we change the rules.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So that's a really cool project.
I'm excited for that book. It's going to be a game changer.
I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful. I just want it to get into the hands of the people that need it the most.
Well, I think also with the trend of the conscious uncoupling, sure, they made, like, was it Gwyneth?
Yeah, it's Gwyneth. She's actually pretty excited to do the podcast too. I used to teach her privately, and she's very excited to talk about this and continue this conversation.
Yeah.
She feels very strongly about it.
Well, and they're quote unquote doing it, but what are the principles to it? That's the point, is like, yes, there's like this idea and this trendy notion of like conscious uncoupling, but then
how?
Even if you want it, how do you get it?
Right.
Yeah. I love that.
Exactly.
So you're living in New York?
Yes, in New York. It's so beautiful today. Crispy, cool, fall, sunny, blue skies.
Shockingly, it's like that today here too.
Where are you guys?
We're in LA, and it's actually crisp. And I mean, I think it's short-lived. It's probably going to be like 80 degrees in about 2 hours. But this morning was crisp and felt like fall. It's so beautiful.
I love it. I'll be there soon, actually, for Yoga Glow.
Oh, I just started working with them.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
No way.
Lots of different, I'm so excited.
I think the first time I learned about who you are was in a Yoga Glow online class that Sophie had us do. We were on a trip somewhere.
We were in Israel, weren't we?
I think so. And Sophie's like, wait, I want you to do we got to do it with this teacher. And that was the first time I was introduced to you.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yoga Glow is really my family. I've been working with them since the very beginning. So it's really fun for me to go out there. Everything's planned in advance. I've been working on it all year, basically. So it's really fun to just go and practice, for 2 days straight.
Yes. I'll have to come if you need any students.
I wish I did. These are all, I think they're all private, short meditation, some hatha pieces, but I don't think there are any public classes actually this round.
Well, I'll find it online then.
Well, you definitely will.
So walk us through, I really want to hear about the journey, because it's been a twisty one for you.
Well, I think the first place to go would be this sort of rise of yoga in general, and how yoga became this very popular big deal in a very short amount of time. And during that time, I felt out of place. I felt like a fraud. I felt like a failure. I felt like I didn't belong there. I was, pretty addicted to mostly marijuana, but also to cigarettes and also to just partying in general. And when can I plan the next time I'm going to be high? And I wouldn't teach high, but I would always want to be high while I was teaching. And it felt so bad. I'm still a great teacher. I have all the information. I had such a great education, but I definitely was very conflicted inside, and that lasted for a number of years. And finally, when I decided to take a hold of it, it was almost 4 years ago to the day, practically, like in a week, is my 4-year sober anniversary. And it made so much sense. And it was like this one moment in time, done. I'm done here. That was it. I felt like the hugest weight had been lifted, and suddenly all of the answers started to come. It was right around then that I started to work closely with doTERRA. It was right around then that I started to scale back my yoga teaching schedule and start to feel like I had other voices to use and other art to deliver. I became the mom I'd always hoped and known I could be. That journey for me is the most important highlight of my whole sort of trajectory professionally, because it really did mark the beginning of me feeling comfortable in my skin and being present here, with you or with anyone in any aspect of my businesses.
And when you say sobriety, is that to marijuana? Is that to everything? Is that
everything? Okay. I haven't had any substances in 4 years, and it feels so good. Well, I've had dark chocolate.
Wow.
That's all I get. But and I've got friends all up and down. They're still partying and hanging out, and I'll hang with the best of them. I don't mind at all. But for me, it's so nice to just have my mind and my heart and my body clear as a bell, just constantly refining from the inside out.
Did you find that your yoga practice and teaching changed after becoming sober? Like, was it a process? Was it kind of quick?
No, it was very fast. And I suddenly realized that I was good on fast, sweaty vinyasa, no longer need. I picked up my running again, and I picked up I got my own practice back, because I started to see, what? Teaching is not really serving me or my family so much. I'm running around like a loser with my head cut off and just giving way too much of myself indiscriminately. And now I have my morning practice back.
Beautiful.
And now James and I go running in the mornings around the reservoir, and we have such a nice, my physical shape is better than it's ever been, and I'm going to be 50 soon.
Amazing.
It's just so nice to feel so comfortable in my skin and not be so worried about whether or not I'm telling the truth.
Did you find that smoking or not sober, just engaging in whatever substance use was there before you got sober, that it was becoming a problem, it was causing consequences, or you made a realization that you wanted to pause it on your own?
Oh no, it was causing problems. I was incredibly temperamental, and I still am, but that's, far more controllable now. It felt really out of control. And, my kids suffered, my partner suffered, my ex-husband suffered, and my sitter, everybody suffered because I was just not myself. And after a while, my poor liver was just like, there was so much anger in my body.
So it was drinking and smoking?
No, I never really drank. I could care less about alcohol.
Okay.
Actually. Yeah, it was just marijuana. I would drop off the boys, and then I would go up to my roof and get really stoned. And then I would plan.
Yeah.
All the cool shit I'm going to do. It's going to be great. And then every day it was kind of the same weird cycle. And I was like, why is nothing happening? Why do I have no money? What is going on here? And finally it was just like, boom, the hammer, the axe fell. It was over. And
Yeah.
I was going to be saving some money, and I was going to be responsible, and I was going to be the mom I've always wished I could be. And even now, I'm fully menopausal. And even now, I scream at Jonah every now and again, unnecessarily. And we could look at each other now and just be like, oh, that was a little too much, wasn't it? Sorry, dude. Sorry. I take it back. Let's do it over.
So here's what I love. And I'm going to dive into this a little bit if you're okay with it, because this is a lot of the work that I do, and I'm interested. So do you mind? You just quit.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. The reason I love that is, I do work with a lot of people, and everybody assumes that doesn't happen. This is what I love about this is everybody assumes that if you have a weed problem, you've got to go to rehab. You've got to do all these other things. And actually, the reality is that the vast majority of people actually just get to a point, and sometimes there's an actual event that happens, but sometimes you get to this point and you go, I'm sick of this. And yes, some people need to see a therapist or go talk to somebody or read a book or whatever it is, but it's not always as big a deal as somebody makes it. So that's one piece I really want to talk about.
Have you seen the Neil Pollock piece in the Times that he wrote very, very recently? Just a middle-aged dad addicted to pot.
I just saw that yesterday.
Stunning. Have you read?
I haven't yet. I haven't marked. It's saved.
Dive in there. It's funny. It's tragic. It's perfect. It really does speak to all the ways in which, marijuana is sort of written off as, no, it's no big deal. But for some people, it really is.
That's exactly the next conversation I want to get to is we're heading into a huge shift. And because marijuana is going to be used more prevalently, it just is because it's becoming legal in more places.
Yes.
And for so many decades, the story has been,
Yes.
well, it's either on both sides. Either marijuana is the most evil drug ever, and it gets people to become heroin addicts, or marijuana is nothing. Don't worry about it. It's a miracle drug.
It's not addictive.
Everybody should smoke. Even on the other the flip side, like everybody should have some weed because it'll do so much good for you. Right. And the reality is a much grayer intermediary, which is, look, for some people it's not a problem. But what you said right there that it was key for me is you were kind of living your life under the haze of weed.
Yeah, a lot of it. I mean, pretty much every day in the mornings, I was high, and then I would go back down and I would, rearrange my utensil drawer or something.
I can't smoke weed because I get so paranoid now.
Oh, it's like
if I try it, I go into this vortex. I can't talk to anybody, so I just don't do it. I've never, I used to be a smoker.
Well, also, darling, it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
The crops are so different than they used to be. Much more potent, much more powerful. Really, just a totally different animal. It's like comparing an apple and a
persimmon.
A kiwi. It's like just totally different things.
Yeah.
The issue for some is that it really is an escape hatch, and it really is a problem.
Yeah.
It really is addictive. And for others, like any good medicine,
right?
It's really medicine.
Yeah. So, it's funny. I just wrote this book called The Abstinence Myth, and the point I make it, and it's exactly the point you just made. People get addicted when they're escaping from something. And yes, at some point, the medicine, the drug, the substance, the behavior played that role, and it served them to escape whatever they need to escape.
Yeah.
But then it never solves the underlying problems. And focusing on quitting should not be the main thing. Focusing on fixing the underlying problems. And it sounds like when you were able to stop, you were able to finally actually attend to what in your life needed real care. Correct.
And then where I was feeling conflicted and like just not fully myself at all, which felt very bad and hard and unnecessary, like I have everything I could ever want. I should not be doubting myself. I should not be scared, sad, in any way negative. It helped to take that whole cloud off of my shoulders and just see what's really happening here is actually pretty bearable. Not only bearable, but awesome. And if I just apply myself for a year or two, things are really going to change around here. And sure enough, that's precisely what happened.
So cool.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's nice.
4 years.
And it's only 4 years. Like, I feel like I'm still a baby in this.
Yeah.
Totally. And that's a beautiful message. That's why I wanted to focus on it for a moment.
Yeah.
Weed is just going to start playing a bigger and bigger role in American society. It's going to. And so I want people to just have that level of awareness. Just be cognizant, just be aware of, if you're just using it every once in a while to hang out and party, fine. If it's actually solving a problem you have, like some people, really address their
sleep.
GI tract.
Yeah.
But the issue is where you can still get confounded is I've worked with people who believe that they've been having GI tract issues for decades and that's why they smoke weed. But we realized that actually at 14, they were really, really anxious and would throw up before every game that they had on their team. And somebody gave them weed to not reduce their nausea and make them not throw up. But then they never had to address their social anxiety. And so now they're really socially anxious humans who just walk around stoned all the time and they still don't know how to talk to somebody else. So just be aware of what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. And then the next piece that I love so much that you just shared, Elena, is, and once you make some of these realizations, you might not need rehab. You might not need super big, huge help in your life. You can, not always and not everybody, but you can, and it happens. Just make the realization and put the tools you need by yourself, and make that change, which is awesome.
Yeah, I didn't go to meetings. I didn't do much except for start to change that particular time frame of the day into another vibe, another action entirely. It became an art making time.
Yeah, shift. This speaks so much to everything that I talk to my people about. So I love it. I love that you just shared your version of it, which is amazing. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Just shift the context. And then also what was fun is I had a couple of real powerhouses on my side and maybe spoke to each of them twice. Tommy Rosen and Gabby Bernstein. They were just like, we got you.
That's awesome.
Good. You're fine. Don't worry. Just call us when you need it. And I barely needed it. I knew what I had to do. I felt a sense of social responsibility and I was ready to roll.
Yeah, it's funny, but just having that security, even if you don't have to call on it, just knowing it's there.
That's right. And now I give it to, I have several people in my life, probably 8 to 12 at any given time, who are texting me nightly to tell me they made it head to pillow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I just send back like an emoji or something, congratulations.
So you were public about this?
I started not, and I became public at around 9 months when I delivered a spoken word poem that I had been writing during those first 9 months of my sobriety, which is called The Ritual of Recovery, and it's on YouTube, and it's awesome. I delivered it at Wanderlust in Aspen for the first time. I was nervous and I did it, and that was the moment that I was like, all right, this is real.
Beautiful.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we need more people that are willing to talk about the whole journey, the trouble, what they did, and the success they're experiencing in all its different forms, because there are people out there struggling.
Really struggling.
And they need a post. They need somebody to just be able to grab onto as an example, as a model. And, with the platform you have, that's a gorgeous, gorgeous, beautiful thing to do. That's awesome.
Yeah, I get emails probably once or twice a month from someone who's, thanking me. They stopped smoking weed and they started to see it for what it was in their lives, and they're, moving along in a new direction now because of having seen that spoken word. And it's like the greatest privilege to get those notes.
So cool.
We'll share that in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll share it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Here.
So when did you start? I'm sure you've always been an artist, but how did that begin for you?
I have always been an artist. My mom was always very adamant about getting me the supplies that I needed or wanted. She was super cool about that as a kid. And when shortly after she died, my publisher called, who had taken over the printing of Art of Attention, which is my first book. We had done that self-publishing for, I think, 3 or 4 printings, and they took over from there. Sounds true. They called and they were like, hey, we'd love for you to do a journal of some kind. We're feeling that for you. And I was like, all right, cool. And I looked over at my little vision board, which for that year was a little different than the one that I have here. And the word practice and the word you, two separate cutouts, were next to one another. And I was like, what about practice you for a title? Like, it was right there on my bookshelf. And he was like, that's actually really nice. And I quickly jumped online and I wrote practiceyou.com. And the damn site was available.
Amazing.
It was ridiculous, actually.
Amazing.
So I started, and basically I would wake up every morning. That summer, 2 summers ago, I would wake up every morning around 5, all spread out all over the rugs of my house, and I would just watercolor paint. And I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how it was going to flow or be. And slowly it began to, the way the book is arranged began to emerge. And my editor and I put it together over the course of a couple of days worth of work here in New York. And within a few months of, and I must give a shout out to my boyfriend, James, who basically took all the artwork and zhuzhed it up, made all the colors vibe with each other. He's a creative director, very, very skillful creative director. And he basically just helped the book along in a profound and notable way. And after that, we got the book back, and once I was holding it in my hands, I knew it was going to be crazy. And it started immediately to be used in school settings with children.
Wow.
As much as it is in yoga teacher training settings or with adults in college classes, like people poetry professors. It's being used in so many different settings. I'm going to go visit a high school in a few weeks out on the North Fork of Long Island to teach from the book with them.
Wow.
Yeah, there's really nothing like it. And so that art making was my way of kind of, healing after my mom died. It was what she always wished I would do. And I always found other things to do. But boy, she was pretty happy when I was waking up every morning painting. I could feel her around. And there were times when I definitely felt like I was being directed, by her. Do this color, do that color. It wasn't like a specific voice necessarily, but it was a very definite choice that I was making from hand to paint to page.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
What a nice way to connect. When did your mom pass?
She passed away January 23rd of 2016.
It's really recent.
Right in the middle of your sobriety.
Yeah. I was sitting in the hospital during that we had a 24-hour window to say goodbye. She'd been very, very sick, and we got 5 years with her after that, thanks to Western medicine and stem cell research. And when we had these last 24 hours, she had a heart attack, really just dropped. I think it was all the chemo and she had a lot of stress in her emotional life, I think, that we were not quite as aware of as I think she had. She just dropped. She had a heart attack. My dad gave her CPR, got her to the hospital. She had a Takotsubo incident, which is where a part of your heart muscle just basically dies. So the heart can't work anymore. And so it's just a matter of time. And so we were told, okay, it's not long, but let's make it right. And all of us were there, just my sister, me, my dad, and our men, my sister and my men. And we were all able to say goodbye in such a good, conscious way. And it changed everything for me. Like, it reinforced my commitment to my doTERRA team. It reinforced my commitment to the quality of my parenting, to myself, to what goes on the other side, that it really is happening there. And there really is a communication, and the veil at most times is very thin between us and that side, that other side. And it gave me a great appreciation for being alive and what I want to do with my days.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your days, you go into your day with like a feeling that you want to create? Do you have a to-do list? Like, what's your ideal way to plan out your day?
I wake up, I do some movement. Sometimes I lay on the biomat for a while. I meditate. I use my little mala beats my teacher gave me and my mantra. I typically will then rewrite my entire to-do list, which is usually one 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper folded vertically in half. doTERRA on one side, everything else on the other side. Everything's got a little blank check mark next to, blank line next to it so I can check it off. And if I get 3 things done in a day, I'm stoked.
Awesome.
5 things,
made me feel
even better.
You started out making me feel really, really bad. And then all of a sudden we brought it back. I was like, wait.
3.
List that's the entire thing and she gets it done. I'm like,
no, it's not. Some days it's longer, but no, it's usually like half of the 11-inch side. Really not that crazy. And if I get 3 of the things done, I'm stoked.
that's awesome.
It's great. And then this way I'm not too hard on myself. And I used to think, don't schedule, podcast interviews and things like that. And then I realized, of course I'm going to schedule those things. I leave Wednesdays and Fridays for those things. And then I can go to the net and I can go for a walk with my friend in an hour and go for a run at 3:00. Like I have all this space now. And Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, you will find me serving my team. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's nice.
I love that.
Very, very cool. Honestly, I feel like we can keep this conversation going for another hour and a half. But A, you have a walk with your friend. B, we have some questions.
Yeah. Let's get through the questions. I'll let her know that I'm going to be a few moments later.
Yeah.
All of our people.
We wanted to ask the questions. One of the questions on there I wanted to ask about anyway. So
Well, all right. That should be easy for us. So the first question is, what is the best advice that you have ever received?
The first 2 words that came were love yourself, love myself. But there's something, I don't know why, for some reason, my mind then went straight to parenting. There's a book by Wendy Mogel, Mogel, called Voice Lessons for Parents. And in that book, my kid is 12, and it's a time where I notice myself taking things more personally than I need to. And she talks about maintaining a calm and steady tone so that the child is well, safe, and knowing that he or she is cared for and in a safe spot to process whatever's happening.
Yeah.
That I swear, when I remember and manage to use it, is some of the most efficient medicine I've ever taken in my life.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then I would say love yourself is definitely up there. And in the top 5, go get checked for parasites.
Well, okay.
For real.
and how does one do that?
You have to find a tropical disease specialist in your area, and you have to get TMI, a rectal swab, and a blood test. And the person really has to know what they're doing, because a lot of the autoimmune situations that we are seeing right now, is a little known fact, are coming from the proliferation of parasitic, amoebic creatures, and dare I say worms, that are living in your gut right now.
Yeah.
Causing gut permeability, causing food allergies and autoimmunity. And I am now healing from, I think, something that I caught probably a decade ago when I was in China.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was just discovered because I have this one spot of eczema on my hand that just wouldn't go away. And I'm not to toot my own horn, I take really good care of myself. I glow. I really, really watch what goes in and what goes out. And I did all my bloods. I'm not absorbing almost anything. Everything is super low. How am I even standing here right now, was the comment that I got from the person reading the labs. They were like, how are you even here?
Yeah.
You should be in a deep depression under the covers right now with these levels.
Wow.
Yes. And the truth is, and then as soon as we got a hold of what the worm was and how to get rid of it, and I needed to do it both holistically and Western, sadly, immediately there was a turnaround. And now I'm just on a gut healing protocol.
All right.
Wow.
That's amazing. Okay.
But I think it's one of those things that everybody should do like once a year. Just go get checked. It's, you travel, or you travel down the block to somebody who didn't wash their hands
Right.
while washing your salad. I mean, it's just,
So
I
scary.
know, it's so crazy. But and you can't live in fear. Like, I'm still going to eat salad. I probably won't be eating raw fish anytime soon. But You can't live in a bubble, but you just have to sort of the same way you would go to get checked by your GP or your integrative physician once a year for your blood levels. Go get checked for parasites. It's smart. That's in my top 3 pieces of advice.
Okay, we're on it. What has been your proudest moment in any point?
Gosh, delivering my mother's eulogy and taking the advice of, actually another 4th piece of advice. My coach, Lauren Zander, who's one of the co-founders of the Handel Group, is genius. You should have her on here. She's real direct. She's real direct.
Yeah,
but I will say she gave me the advice to start dating my sister. What does that mean? Treat her like you would treat your boyfriend when you first started dating. Treat her like you would treat your dear friend, and you always want to like do the right thing and send a really beautiful, supportive text and something encouraging. Like just completely shift how you are with her. Forget about whatever's happened in the past. Forget about everything. Just be who you are with everybody else with her.
Oh, I love that.
And it makes me proud. Literally every time we have a text exchange or a phone call, my mind just went straight to that. Like, I'm super proud of the fact that she and I are cool.
That's awesome.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just started kind of being that way with my sister. I set some really challenging boundaries with her when I was pregnant. And I was in such a sensitive place, and I kind of cut her out, and I was like, I can't handle the negativity right now. So we didn't really talk much the whole pregnancy. Our only link was my older boys, Kai and Leo, and she would teach them art classes, and it was really beautiful. It was a great relationship, but she and I weren't really interacting because I needed that physical, emotional space. And now that the baby's been born, it's really just love. Like I'm just like covering her in so much love, but hearing that is such a confirmation for me of where I want to go with her. Like I feel like we have so much to heal from the past, but at the same time we don't. Like, is it really relevant now? Is that 30 years of history? Does it really matter? Do we really need to delve into that? But yeah, just being loving and really letting go of all that other stuff it's such a powerful tool.
If you think about it, you have like a couple of really good friends who've been your friends only for a couple of years, let's say, but they mean a lot to you. Mm-hmm. You guys are not like diving into what happened 20, 30 years ago and letting that impact the quality of your friendship now.
It's true.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
It's true.
Flipping the proudest moment on its head for a moment, what has been your most difficult moment?
I reckon when she died.
Yeah.
As beautiful, as totally sacred as it was, just the feeling of my ear on her belly and knowing that was the end of it sucked. Like it makes me cry every time I think about it. And I was fully present. My sister was kissing her cheek, and she's not really a kisser. My dad was on the other side of her face, and I was just laying on her belly just going, I can't even believe this is really happening right now. This is it. This is the end of this road. Yeah. That was really hard. Really, really hard. But we get to have good chats now.
Yeah.
Really, she sees something else.
My dad, and it's.
Oh, you did.
I mean, just sitting there as he's taking his last breath. He had cancer as well and died. And I mean, nothing prepares you. You had years. We had a couple of years, but there's no preparation for that transition, that movement from alive to no longer here. That moment, there's nothing that prepares you for it.
It's so serious.
Yeah.
And so holy and so beautiful and so poignant and so hard to say goodbye. It's so strange. And I was the one who was the strong one, like, you can go. It's fine, you can go. And my sister said it too, you can go. But in the last moments, it was just like, wow, I got to put my money where my mouth is right now and get really cool with this right now.
Yeah, I don't know if that ever happens.
I don't either. To be honest, I don't know.
I miss the daily phone calls. I miss
so much so.
Yeah. He's the first person I always want to call.
Yeah.
When anything good happens.
And how many times you go to be like, oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Talk to like.
But I love that you found a way to connect through art. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and also I just listen. She's always around. He's always around for you. And there's a real good book, actually, one more book recommendation by Pixie Lighthorse called Prayers of Honoring Grief. It's pretty new. It's actually her latest book, Prayers of Honoring Grief. It's one of the most helpful, honestly, books that I've read, and I got through many of them. But really to make everything into a deep and lasting prayer and a realistic prayer. It's not like romantic or frou-frou. It's very down to earth, grounded. She's a land dweller. You know, she's the real salt of the earth. And her writing on the topic is very important to me.
That's awesome. Oh, yeah. We'll check that out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. What about self-care? So like on your daily, what is like a ritual that just grounds you or that you need for your own self-care?
Checking all my bank accounts and my credit cards.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yep.
That
I consider to be self-care. Yeah. When I every day I started doing that, I don't know, several years ago. And that's the most grounding thing. I mean, I do that after all my obvious practices, the movement, the meditation, the addressing my to-do list, the hour I spend on email. I don't have any like assistants. I do my own email.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first thing after all my practices are done. But during that email moment, when I'm waiting for something to load, I just check all my balances. I catch stuff. I make sure that everything is in order where I expect it to be. You know, that feels like a very profound form of self-care.
Was that something that wasn't present in your life earlier?
Not at all. No. I was really afraid of money, and therefore it would disappear from me.
Yeah, sure. It ran away. It was afraid of you too.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny though, also kind of the bubble that we're in, that you're like, you kind of gloss over like, well, obviously my like self-care practices of like making my turmeric latte and doing an hour of yoga. And like, you're like gloss over those things to like this very grounded, like, I feel like most people probably do check. Like I don't check my bank account, but that is probably what most like.
No, I don't think that's true.
You know what I mean?
I don't think a lot. I think most people are scared.
Yeah. I think a lot of people try not to look there until they get a notice from their bank or something.
That's right. That's right.
And by the way, we talked about her like meditation and movement. She mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
Reconnecting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think you're right. My dad. Speaking of my dad from before, when I got sober, and I'm not 100% sober now, just to be clear, but I was completely sober for 3 years and have no substance use problems. Like I was able to incorporate alcohol back in a normal way. Like I drink once or twice a week. But
right.
But when I was starting this new life, there's this really funny story. I was at a PO box where I would get all my mail.
Yeah.
And my dad would call me every morning. And so he asked me what I had just been doing. And I said, I went to the PO box to pick up the mail. And he asked me a really simple question. He said, what was in there? And I go, I don't know. I didn't look. And he goes, let me teach you how normal adults use their mail. And this is exactly what you were just talking about. He said, you go to the mailbox, you open up the mail, and then you open all of it. You look through all of it. You throw whatever you don't need out. And then in there are things you need to act on. There are things you need to do. And we then act on those things. And it was this really such a simple piece of advice, but also what he was saying, like the undertone of it, the current was, don't run away from this stuff.
Show up.
That's
do
right.
what you need to do. Take care of what you need to take care of. And it was really eye-opening because up to that point in my life, and I don't know if anybody can relate, I was in such a shitty place internally that I was just piled mail in the corner. And then when the pile would get too high, I would kind of just throw it out and hope that everything worked out. I just didn't take care of anything.
I am well familiar with that practice. I mean, I would literally, I wouldn't even balance my checkbook. Like there was no awareness whatsoever. And the more I read and the more I practice, even just using little neuro tools, you have these opportunities over the course of the day to set your mind free or in prison. And setting it free is really about just knowing what the facts are, seeing what's there, knowing what you need, being clear, and acting on the facts.
Yeah.
It's just what is. And like, for example, last month, I was well over my little self budget.
Yeah.
And I didn't care. I was like, I know exactly what I'm doing here. Next month will be a different month. And but I'm fully aware of it. It wasn't like, I don't know I'm not sure actually what I spent really.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
That's
it's awareness.
Good advice for everybody to be aware of those things.
So this podcast is called Ignited.
Yes.
What ignites you?
I would have to say my kid is the first thing that comes to mind. His face was the first thing that flew up into my mind space. Just being great for him and showing up in my business so that he can have a model of, integrity and clarity, so that when he shows up for whatever it is that he's meant to be doing in his service in the world, he is a good model. And his daddy also is, I would definitely say, one of the things that ignites me. Our friendship that we've developed ignites me.
Oh, good.
And yeah, he's amazing. And my partner, James, whom I mentioned, is like a force on this planet. To me, he's such a fire. He's such a light to me. And I don't know if I could have come this far in my personal or my professional life without him. He does the work. He shows up for his own therapy, he goes to men's group, he facilitates, and then he does all of his creative, 9-to-5 gig with such flair and such vision. And I have to say, those would be the people that ignite me. There are more, but.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful that I feel like not often do people see other
specific
people.
individuals.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost always about other people, but they don't know the specific individuals that do it, which is really beautiful.
I love that.
Oh, I see. I mean, I could also say, if I'm able to expand, I would also say my team too, because without them, the mission that our team is on to create awareness and get the oils into the hands of so many millions of kids would be happening. They're all on it. They're saying yes, they're being brave, they're taking good care of themselves, they're being examples in their communities. They're really what I get up to do in the morning.
That's awesome.
Magic.
That's beautiful.
Thank
Wow,
I feel
like we've shared so many real things that people can walk away from today with in terms of improving their life. So thank you so much for showing up today. Thanks for being present for this. It's amazing. Welcome. Thank you. And, so nice to be here with two of you.
Can't wait to connect more.
Yeah.
For sure.
Follow all these the book and the cards and all that stuff.
Yeah. I'll be sure to send you guys, when the cards come out, I'll be sure to send you a deck so you can play. How old are your kids?
6 and 8.
Oh yeah. You're going to have some real fun with them and the cards. And you should have the book too. You don't have the book.
I don't.
All right. Do me a flavor and send me your address. And
I will
send you a handful of the books so that each child will have one in.
Oh, so sweet.
I love that.
The kids are loving it. It's important.
And they go to a Waldorf school, so we'll share the love.
That was my first foray. I took them when I got my first shipment. I went straight into my kids' class. They were 5th grade at the time. And I taught them for an hour from the book, ad hoc. Just like, okay, guys, turn to page this.
Beautiful.
And I just had them work. It was beautiful.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Thank you so much. Have the best weekend and Friday. And
thank you so much.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and spending this hour with us. Have a great rest of your week.
Mwah.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Ignited podcast. We were so happy to have you along for this ride. Please go and subscribe to this. Leave us a review. We love hearing from you. And if you want more, don't forget to go to ignited.com, where all the podcast episodes are available with show notes and so many of the little details and links from each one of these interviews. And you can look at all the future events that we have going on, all the things that make Ignited so special, even beyond this recording. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week.